The Connecticut morning air carried the sweet scent of blooming dogwood trees as Maya Rodriguez adjusted her black graduation cap one final time. Standing in front of the cracked mirror in her studio apartment, she smoothed down the polyester gown that had cost her 3 weeks of grocery money. Today was supposed to be the culmination of 4 years of relentless work juggling classes, jobs, and the constant exhaustion that came with supporting herself through college. "You did it," she whispered to her reflection, though the words felt hollow in the empty room. At 22, Maya had learned to celebrate her victories alone. There would be no family cheering from the bleachers today. Her mother was working double shifts at a hospital in Hartford, and her younger brother had his own finals to worry about. But that was okay. She had grown accustomed to being her own support system. The drive to Fairfield University took 45 minutes in her aging Honda Civic, the engine making concerning noises that she couldn't afford to investigate as she navigated through the affluent neighborhoods surrounding the campus. Maya's phone buzzed with a text from Mrs. Henderson. "Don't forget, Emma has dance at 3:30, and Tyler needs to be picked up from soccer at 4:15. We'll be home late tonight." Maya stared at the message, her stomach tightening. Even today, even on her graduation day, she was still just the nanny. She had been caring for the Henderson children for over 2 years, practically raising them while their parents traveled for business or attended social events. Emma, now 7, and Tyler, 9, had been the bright spots in her demanding schedule. Their innocent questions about her homework, their excitement when she helped them with their own assignments, had kept her motivated through the darkest moments of college. She had foolishly hoped that the Hendersons might acknowledge this milestone. After all, she had mentioned it several times, had even left the graduation program on the kitchen counter where Mrs. Henderson did her morning planning. But the text made it clear today was just another workday. The university campus buzzed with anticipation as families gathered for the ceremony. Maya parked in the distant lot reserved for students, watching as gleaming SUVs and luxury sedans dropped off other graduates at the main entrance. She shouldered her worn backpack containing the cap and gown she had just changed into and walked toward the ceremony venue. The football stadium was transformed into a sea of black caps and excited voices. Maya found her designated section and settled into the metal bleacher seat, surrounded by classmates she barely knew, while others posed for pictures with proud parents and siblings. Maya pulled out her phone and took a selfie, trying to capture the moment for herself. "Maya, over here." She looked up to see Jessica Chen, a classmate from her education courses, waving from a few rows down. Jessica was surrounded by what appeared to be 3 generations of family, all beaming with pride. Maya waved back, grateful for the friendly face, but declined Jessica's invitation to join them. She didn't want to intrude on their family moment. As the ceremony began, Maya spotted a familiar figure in the family section. Mrs. Henderson sat rigidly in her tailored blazer, checking her phone with barely concealed impatience. Beside her, Mr. Henderson scrolled through emails, occasionally whispering something that made his wife nod and respond in hushed tones. Gosh, they looked completely out of place among the emotional parents, wiping away tears and cheering for their graduates. Maya's heart lifted slightly. They had come, despite everything, despite their usual indifference. They had actually shown up to her graduation. Maybe she'd have been too harsh in her judgment. Maybe they did care about her achievement, even if they had a strange way of showing it. The dean began calling names alphabetically, and Maya's section wouldn't be called for another hour. She watched as her classmates' names were announced. Each one met with enthusiastic cheers from their supporters. The Patels, whose daughter was graduating summa cum laude, held up a banner they had clearly made themselves. The Johnson family whistled and hollered when their son crossed the stage, causing him to break into a huge grin and wave energetically. Maya glanced back at the Hendersons, who seemed to be having an intense discussion about something on Mr. Henderson's phone. Mrs. Henderson's perfectly manicured fingers drummed impatiently on her clutch purse, and she kept checking her diamond watch, a wedding gift that cost more than Maya's annual tuition. Rodriguez, Maya, Alina. The moment had arrived. Maya stood on shaking legs, her heart pounding as she walked across the stage. The dean shook her hand firmly, placing the diploma in her palm with a warm smile. "Congratulations, Ms. Rodriguez. Your professors speak very highly of your dedication to education." "Thank you," Maya managed, her voice barely audible over the microphone feedback. She looked out into the crowd, searching for the Hendersons' faces among the sea of spectators. There she spotted Mrs. Henderson's blonde hair catching the afternoon sunlight, but neither of them was looking at the stage. Mr. Henderson was on his phone, speaking animatedly into the device, while Mrs. Henderson rifled through her purse, apparently searching for something urgent. Maya's moment of triumph felt suddenly insignificant. She had worked herself to exhaustion for this degree, maintaining a 3.7 GPA while working 30 hours a week, yet the people she had hoped would witness her success couldn't even be bothered to look up from their devices. She walked off the stage, diploma in hand, and returned to her seat with burning cheeks. Around her, families continued to cheer wildly for their graduates, but Maya felt utterly alone, despite being surrounded by hundreds of people. After the ceremony, Maya made her way through the crowd of celebrating families, hoping to catch the Hendersons before they left. She found them near the parking lot, already walking briskly toward their black Range Rover. "Mr. and Mrs. Henderson," she called out, jogging to catch up with them. They turned, and Mrs. Henderson's expression showed brief confusion before recognition dawned. "Oh, Maya, there you are. How did it go?" "The ceremony was beautiful," Maya replied, still catching her breath. "Thank you so much for coming. It really means, of course." Dear Mrs. Henderson interrupted, already reaching for her car keys. "Listen, we need to discuss next week's schedule. We're flying to Martha's Vineyard on Thursday, and we'll need you to stay overnight with the children. Can you be at the house by Wednesday evening?" Maya stared at her, the diploma suddenly feeling heavy in her hands. Yes, of course, but I wanted to thank you for being here today. I know how busy you both are." Mr. Henderson looked up from his phone with a distracted expression. "Being where?" "Oh, right. Yes, well, we were in the area anyway. Caroline had a tennis lesson at the club." He gestured vaguely toward the country club visible in the distance. The words hit Maya like a physical blow. They hadn't come for a graduation at all. They had simply been nearby and decided to stop by, probably out of mild curiosity rather than genuine support. "I see," Maya said quietly, her voice barely steady. "The children will be expecting you at the usual time tomorrow." Mrs. Henderson continued, apparently oblivious to Maya's emotional state. "Emma has been asking about her art project, and Tyler needs help with his book report. You know how he struggles with reading comprehension." "Yes, I'll be there," Maya replied automatically, though her mind was reeling. "It's wonderful. We really don't know what we'd do without you," Mrs. Henderson said, with a casual tone she might use to discuss the weather. "You're so good with them. It's like you have a natural gift for this sort of thing." The patronizing comment stung. Maya had just earned a bachelor's degree in elementary education with a minor in child psychology. She had studied child development, learning theory, and educational psychology. Her natural gift was actually hard-earned expertise, but to the Hendersons, she would always be just the hired help who was naturally suited to caring for children. They drove away without another word, leaving Maya standing alone in the parking lot. Around her, other families continued their celebrations, heading to restaurants for special graduation dinners or gathering for photos at scenic spots around campus. She looked down at her diploma, the embossed lettering catching the late afternoon sun. 4 years of sacrifice, thousands of dollars in student loans, countless nights studying after long days of childcare, all reduced to a casual encounter in a parking lot. Maya's phone buzzed again. "Actually, can you pick up the children now? We're running late for dinner reservations." "Okay. They're at aftercare at school." "Okay." She closed her eyes, fighting back tears of frustration and disappointment. "Okay." Even now, even on her graduation day, she was still just the nanny. The woman who picked up the children, who helped with homework, who bandaged, scraped knees, and listened to bedtime stories, but who somehow remained invisible when it mattered most. The drive to Riverside Elementary took 20 minutes, giving Maya time to compose herself. By the time she pulled into the school parking lot, she had carefully packed away her hurt and disappointment. Emma and Tyler didn't deserve to see her upset, especially not because of their parents' behavior. Emma launched herself into Maya's arms as soon as she walked into the aftercare room. "Did you graduate today? Did you wear the funny hat?" "I did," Maya said, managing a genuine smile for the little girl. "I wore the cap and gown, just like in the pictures I showed you." Tyler looked up from his homework with interest. "Are you a real teacher now?" "I have my degree, so yes, I suppose I am," Maya replied, ruffling his hair affectionately. "That's so cool," Emma exclaimed. "Okay, when I grow up, I want to be a teacher too, just like you." Maya felt her throat tighten with emotion. These children saw her worth even when their parents didn't. They celebrated her achievement with pure, uncomplicated joy, asking to see her diploma and listening with rapt attention as she described the ceremony as they drove home together. Tyler chattering about his soccer game and Emma humming a song she had learned in music class. Maya made a quiet resolution. She would not let the Hendersons' indifference diminish her accomplishment. She had earned her degree through sheer determination and hard work, and no one could take that away from her. But deep down, a seed of dissatisfaction had been planted. As she helped the children with their homework that evening, listening to them read and praising their efforts, Maya began to envision a different future, one where her education and dedication would be recognized and valued, where she could make a real difference in children's lives without being relegated to the shadows. The graduation day, that should have been a celebration, had instead become a wake-up call. Maya Rodriguez was no longer content to remain invisible. 6 months had passed since graduation. Kay, in the Connecticut autumn, painted the Henderson estate in brilliant shades of orange and gold. Maya pulled her cardigan tighter as she walked up the circular driveway, the crisp October air carrying the scent of burning leaves from neighboring properties. The massive colonial house loomed before her, its pristine white columns and manicured gardens, a testament to the family's wealth and status. Inside, familiar chaos of morning routines greeted her. Emma sat at the kitchen island, struggling with her shoelaces, while Tyler rummaged through his backpack, searching for a permission slip that was due today. "Maya," Emma called out with relief, "I can't make the bunny ears." "Let me help you, sweetheart," Maya said, kneeling down to assist with the laces. As she worked, she caught sight of Mrs. Henderson in the adjacent family room, speaking in hushed tones on her phone while gesturing dramatically with her free hand. "Is everything okay?" Maya asked Tyler, who was looking increasingly frustrated with his backpack search. "Mom was supposed to sign this yesterday, but she forgot again," he said, his voice tinged with disappointment. "Mrs. Peterson said if we don't bring it back today, we can't go on the field trip to the Science Museum." Maya felt the familiar pang of sympathy for the boy. These small disappointments had become routine, forgotten permission slips, missed school events, promises that somehow never materialized. She had watched both children learn to expect less from their parents, and it broke her heart a little more each time. "Don't worry," Maya said gently. "I'll talk to your mom about it." She found Mrs. Henderson in her home office, surrounded by fabric samples and paint swatches for what appeared to be another renovation project. The woman looked up with mild irritation at the interruption. Maya, I'm in the middle of something important. Can this wait? Tyler needs his permission slip, signed for today's field trip, Maya explained. He's pretty upset about potentially missing it. Mrs. Henderson waved her hand dismissively. Oh, those school trips, they're just glorified babysitting sessions anyway. He's not missing anything educational. Maya felt her jaw tighten. Actually, it's a visit to the Museum of Science and Industry. They have interactive exhibits on renewable energy and space exploration. It directly connects to what they're studying in class. Maya, please. I'm sure you mean well, but you don't need to lecture me about educational value. I think I know what's best for my own children. The condescending tone hit Maya like a slap. She had been caring for these children for over 2 years, had watched them grow and learn, had celebrated their achievements and comforted them through their struggles. Yet she was still treated as someone who couldn't possibly understand what was truly best for them. Of course, Maya said quietly. I just thought, that's the problem, Mrs. Henderson interrupted, turning back to her fabric samples. You think too much about things that aren't really your concern. Just focus on what you're hired to do. Maya signed the permission slip herself, forging Mrs. Henderson's signature with practiced ease. It wasn't the first time she had done this, and she knew it wouldn't be the last. As she handed the slip to Tyler, she saw the relief flood his young face, and she felt the familiar mixture of satisfaction and resentment that came with stepping in where his parents had failed. Later that afternoon, while the children were at their respective activities, Maya sat in the Hendersons' pristine living room, grading papers from her substitute teaching job. She had been working as a substitute teacher 3 days a week, slowly building her experience and reputation in the local school district. The work was challenging, but fulfilling finally. She was able to use her education degree in a meaningful way. The front door slammed. Mrs. Henderson's heels clicked across the marble foyer. She appeared in the doorway, her expression stormy. Maya, we need to talk. Maya looked up from the stack of third-grade math worksheets she was reviewing. Is everything all right? I just received a call from Emma's teacher, Mrs. Wilson. Apparently, Emma told her entire class that you're her teacher now too. Mrs. Henderson's voice carried a sharp edge. She was bragging about how you have a teaching degree and help her with her homework better than anyone else. Maya felt a flush of pride at Emma's words, but Mrs. Henderson's tone made it clear this wasn't meant as a compliment. I don't understand the problem, Maya said carefully. I do help her with homework. I do have my degree. The problem is that you're confusing your role in this household, Mrs. Henderson snapped. You're the nanny, not the teacher. You're not their educator. You're their caregiver. It's a significant difference. Maya felt something inside her crack. I have a bachelor's degree in elementary education. I've been substitute teaching for 6 months. I think I'm qualified to help children with their homework. Oh, please. Mrs. Henderson laughed, but there was no humor in it. A degree in child development from a state school. That's hardly the same as real educational expertise. Just because you can manage finger paints and playground supervision doesn't make you an educator. The words hit Maya like physical blows. She had worked herself to exhaustion for that degree, had graduated with honors, had received glowing recommendations from her professors. But to Mrs. Henderson, it was just child development and finger paints. I need you to stop overstepping, Mrs. Henderson continued. The children have actual teachers at their school. Your job is to supervise them, not to confuse them about who the real educators are. Maya stood up slowly, her hands trembling slightly. I see. So, when Tyler comes home crying because he doesn't understand his math homework, I should just... What? Tell him to wait until his real teacher can help him tomorrow. You should help him with the basics, of course. But you need to stop presenting yourself as some kind of educational authority. It's inappropriate, and frankly, it's above your station. Above your station. The phrase hung in the air like a toxic cloud. Maya had heard it before, usually from people who believed that her background, her ethnicity, her economic status, somehow limited what she could achieve or aspire to be. I understand, Maya said quietly, gathering her papers with shaking hands. Okay, I'm glad we cleared that up. Mrs. Henderson's tone became artificially bright. Oh, and I'll need you to work late on Friday. Richard and I are attending a dinner party at the Blackwells. It's a very important networking event. Maya nodded, not trusting herself to speak. Finished collecting her things and headed toward the kitchen, where she could hear the children's voices as they returned from their activities. Maya, Emma bounded into the kitchen, her face glowing with excitement. Mrs. Wilson said, I got the highest score on my reading comprehension test. She said, I must have a really good teacher helping me at home. Maya's throat tightened. Wonderful, sweetheart. I'm so proud of you. Tyler did great too. He got a B+ on his science project about the solar system, the one you helped him with last weekend. Tyler grinned sheepishly. I couldn't have done it without you. You explained everything so well, and you helped me make the model look really cool. Maya felt tears threatening to spill over. These children valued her contribution, recognized her expertise, celebrated her involvement in their education. Their mother saw her as nothing more than hired help who was getting above herself. Friday evening arrived with the weight of inevitability. Maya had agreed to stay late, as she always did, putting her own plans on hold to accommodate the Hendersons' social calendar. The children were already in their pajamas, settled in the family room with a movie, when the doorbell rang. Maya, could you get that? Mrs. Henderson called from upstairs, where she was getting ready for the evening. It's probably the Sinclairs we're carpooling to the party. Maya opened the door to find an elegant couple in their 50s, both impeccably dressed and radiating the kind of confidence that came with generational wealth. You must be the nanny, the woman said, with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. I'm Margaret Sinclair. Caroline is just finishing up, I assume. Yes. She'll be down in a moment, Maya replied. Please, come in. The couple entered, and Maya couldn't help but notice how they looked around the foyer with the appraising eyes of people who were used to judging others by their possessions. Mr. Sinclair's gaze passed over Maya as if she were part of the furniture. Caroline, Mrs. Sinclair called out. We're here. Miss Henderson descended the stairs in a stunning cocktail dress, her jewelry catching the light from the chandelier. She looked every inch the successful socialite, perfectly groomed and radiating confidence. Sorry to keep you waiting, she said, embracing Mrs. Sinclair with air kisses. I was just going over the evening's instructions with Maya. Oh, how wonderful to have reliable help, Mrs. Sinclair said, glancing at Maya with a kind of polite disinterest reserved for service staff. It's so hard to find good nannies these days, okay? Most of them have such unrealistic expectations, okay? Maya felt her cheeks burn, but she remained silent. Maya's been with us for over 2 years now, Mrs. Henderson said. She's very adequate, though she sometimes forgets her place. Don't you, Maya? The comment was delivered with a laugh, as if it were a harmless joke. But Maya caught the underlying message. Mrs. Henderson was still punishing her for their earlier conversation, making sure she understood her position in the household hierarchy. Actually, Mrs. Henderson continued, warming to her theme. It's rather amusing. Maya has some sort of teaching degree. She's been filling the children's heads with ideas about her being their educator. Can you imagine? Sinclair's laughed politely, though Mr. Sinclair looked slightly uncomfortable with the direction of the conversation. How presumptuous, Mrs. Sinclair said with a tinkling laugh. Suppose when you give these people a little education, they start to get ideas above their station. Maya felt the room spinning around her. These people, these wealthy, privileged people, were discussing her as if she weren't standing right there. They were mocking her education, her ambitions, her dreams of making a difference in children's lives. The children do seem to respond well to her, Mr. Henderson said. appearing at the top of the stairs as he adjusted his cufflinks. "Though I sometimes worry that she's too involved." Emma came home talking about wanting to be a teacher, just like Maya. "We certainly don't want her developing unrealistic career aspirations." The laughter that followed felt like knives in Maya's chest. Everything she had worked for, everything she had achieved, was being dismissed as unrealistic by people who had never had to struggle for anything in their lives. "Well, shall we go?" Mrs. Henderson said, gathering her purse and wrap. "Maya, the children should be in bed by 9. There's leftover pasta in the fridge if they get hungry. We'll be back late, so don't wait up." They swept out of the house in a cloud of expensive perfume and casual cruelty, leaving Maya standing alone in the foyer. She could hear the children's laughter from the family room, blissfully unaware of the conversation that had just taken place. Maya walked slowly to the powder room and stared at herself in the mirror. The reflection showed a young woman with tired eyes and slumped shoulders. Someone who had been systematically diminished and devalued despite her accomplishments and dedication for 2.5 years. She had poured her heart into caring for Emma and Tyler. She had been their advocate, their supporter, their educator in ways their parents never bothered to be. She had celebrated their victories and comforted them through their struggles. She had helped them grow and learn and discover their potential. But to their parents, she would always be just a help, someone whose education was inadequate, whose dreams were unrealistic, whose very presence was tolerated only as long as she remembered her place. As she tucked the children into bed that night, listening to their sleepy chatter about school and friends and dreams for the future, Maya made a decision that had been building in her heart for months. She loved Emma and Tyler, but she couldn't continue to sacrifice her own dignity and self-worth to care for them. It was time to leave. It was time to bet on herself, to pursue her real calling, to find a place where her education and passion would be valued rather than dismissed. The breaking point had finally arrived, and Maya Rodriguez was ready to break free. 2 years later, Maya Rodriguez stood in front of her bathroom mirror in her small but comfortable Hartford apartment, adjusting the navy blazer she had purchased for today's interview. The reflection staring back at her was dramatically different from the uncertain young woman who had once cowered under the Hendersons' dismissive remarks. Her posture was straight, her eyes bright with confidence, and her smile, genuine, the smile of someone who had discovered her worth. The journey hadn't been easy. After leaving the Henderson house that October night 2 years ago, I had faced the harsh reality of starting over with limited savings and no safety net. She had moved back in with her mother temporarily, sleeping on the couch in their tiny 2-bedroom apartment while she figured out her next steps. The nights had been the hardest, lying awake, wondering if she had made a terrible mistake, if financial security was worth more than personal dignity. But Maya had learned something crucial during those dark months. She was stronger than she had ever imagined. Her phone buzzed with a text from her best friend and former classmate, Jessica Chen. "Good luck today. You're going to crush this interview. Riverside Academy is lucky to have someone like you applying." Maya smiled, thinking about how much her support system had changed. Jessica had become a true friend over the past 2 years, someone who celebrated Maya's victories and offered encouragement during the challenging moments. Unlike the Hendersons, Jessica saw Maya's potential and never questioned her right to pursue her dreams. The drive to Riverside Academy took Maya through some of Connecticut's most beautiful neighborhoods. A private school sat on a sprawling campus of red brick buildings surrounded by mature oak trees, their leaves just beginning to show hints of autumn color. As she pulled into the visitor parking lot, Maya took a deep breath and reminded herself of everything she had accomplished to get to this moment. After leaving the Hendersons, Maya had thrown herself into substitute teaching with unprecedented determination. She had taken every assignment offered, working in schools across 3 different districts, gaining experience with students of all ages and backgrounds. Her reputation had grown quickly. Principals began requesting her specifically. Teachers left detailed notes praising her classroom management and innovative lesson plans, and students responded to her with enthusiasm and respect. The substitute teaching had provided more than just income. It had given Maya the confidence she needed to pursue her master's degree. Every evening, after long days in various classrooms, she would come home to her textbooks, diving deep into educational theory, child psychology, and curriculum development. Her professors at Central Connecticut State University quickly recognized her talent and dedication, offering her teaching, assistantships, and research opportunities that further honed her skills. Dr. Patricia Williams, her graduate advisor, had become an unexpected mentor. Unlike the Hendersons, Dr. Williams saw Maya's background as an asset rather than a limitation. "You understand children in a way that many teachers never will," she had told Maya during one of their advisory meetings. "You've seen them in their homes, in their most vulnerable moments. That perspective is invaluable." Maya's master's thesis had focused on the intersection of socioeconomic factors and educational outcomes, a topic inspired by her own experiences and observations. Her research had been so compelling that she had been invited to present at the New England Educational Research Conference, where her work received recognition from educators across the region. Now, as she walked up the stone pathway to Riverside Academy's main administration building, Maya reflected on the irony of the situation. Riverside Academy was exactly the type of elite private school that the Hendersons' children attended, a place where wealthy families paid premium tuition for small class sizes, individualized attention, and innovative teaching methods. The difference was that now Maya was walking through these halls as a qualified professional, not as hired help. "Ms. Rodriguez," a warm voice called out as Maya entered the main office. A woman in her 50s, with silver hair and kind eyes, approached with an extended hand. "I'm Dr. Sarah Mitchell, the head of school. It's wonderful to meet you." Maya shook her hand confidently. "The pleasure is mine, Dr. Mitchell. Thank you for this opportunity. Please follow me to my office. I'm looking forward to our conversation." Dr. Mitchell's office was a study in educational philosophy made manifest. The walls were lined with books on pedagogy and child development. Student artwork was displayed prominently, and photographs showed the head of school interacting warmly with students of all ages. It was clear that this was a place where education was valued and celebrated. "I have to say, your application materials were some of the most impressive I have seen in my 25 years in education," Dr. Mitchell began, settling behind her desk. "Your master's thesis on educational equity was particularly compelling. Tell me what drew you to that research." Maya felt a surge of pride. This was exactly the kind of conversation she had always dreamed of having, one where her ideas and expertise were the focus, not her background or perceived limitations. "I became interested in educational equity through my own experiences," Maya began, her voice steady and confident. "I've seen firsthand how children from different socioeconomic backgrounds can have vastly different educational experiences, even when they have the same potential. My research focused on identifying specific interventions that can level the playing field." Dr. Mitchell leaned forward with interest. "Can you give me a specific example?" "Certainly. One of my case studies involved a student I worked with during my substitute teaching. Marcus was a brilliant child from a single-parent household where English wasn't the primary language spoken at home. Traditional assessments showed him as behind grade level. But when I implemented multimodal teaching approaches in culturally responsive pedagogy, his true abilities emerged. Within 6 months, he was performing above grade level in all subjects, SATs. Exactly the kind of innovative thinking we value here at Riverside Academy," Dr. Mitchell said with genuine enthusiasm. "We're not just looking for teachers who can deliver curriculum. We want educators who can see the unique potential in every child and find ways to unlock it. Maya felt her heart racing with excitement. This was what she had always wanted to. Work in an environment where her philosophy of education was not only accepted, but celebrated. The interview continued for over an hour, covering Maya's teaching philosophy, her classroom management strategies, and her vision for engaging students in meaningful learning. With each question, Maya felt more confident, more articulate, more certain that this was where she belonged. "I'd like you to meet some of our current faculty," Dr. Mitchell said, standing up. "And perhaps observe one of our 4th grade classes in action. I think you'll find our approach aligns well with your educational philosophy." As they walked through the hallways, Maya was struck by the energy of the place. Unlike the sterile perfection of the Henderson home, Riverside Academy buzzed with authentic learning. Students moved through the halls with purpose, engaged in animated discussions about their projects. Teachers interacted with colleagues and students with genuine warmth and enthusiasm. In the 4th grade classroom, Maya watched as Ms. Jennifer Lopez led her students through a science lesson on renewable energy. The students were actively engaged, asking thoughtful questions and building on each other's ideas. It was clear that this teacher didn't just deliver information, she facilitated discovery and critical thinking. "Ms. Rodriguez," Ms. Lopez said during a brief break, "Dr. Mitchell told me about your background in educational equity. We'd love to hear your thoughts on some of the initiatives we're considering." For the next 20 minutes, Maya found herself in exactly the kind of professional discussion she had always craved. These teachers treated her as a colleague, an expert whose opinions mattered. They asked about her research, her experience with diverse learners, her strategies for engaging reluctant students. "Your approach to differentiated instruction is fascinating," said Mr. David Park, the 5th grade teacher who had joined the conversation. "Have you considered presenting at the Connecticut Association of Independent Schools Conference? I think your perspective would be valuable to educators across the state." Maya felt a warmth spreading through her chest. These people saw her potential, recognized her expertise, and valued her contributions to the field of education. It was everything she had hoped for and more. As the day concluded, Dr. Mitchell walked Maya back to the main office. "I want to be transparent with you, Ms. Rodriguez. We have several excellent candidates for this position. But I was impressed, not just by your qualifications, but by your passion for education and your commitment to meeting every child where they are." "Thank you," Maya replied. "I want you to know that this interview has confirmed everything I hoped about Riverside Academy. This is exactly the kind of environment where I want to grow as an educator." "I'll be making my decision within the week," Dr. Mitchell said. "Regardless of the outcome, I hope you'll stay in touch. The education field needs more thoughtful, dedicated professionals like yourself." As Maya drove home that afternoon, she felt a profound sense of accomplishment. Win or lose, she had shown up as her authentic professional self. She had articulated her vision for education with confidence and clarity. She had engaged with fellow educators as an equal, contributing meaningfully to discussions about pedagogy and student success. Her phone rang as she pulled into her apartment complex. The caller ID showed Jessica's name. "How did it go?" Jessica asked before Maya could even say hello. "It was incredible, Jess. They actually listened to my ideas. They valued my research. They treated me like a real educator, not like someone who was lucky to be in the room." "'Cause you are a real educator," Jessica laughed. "I'm so proud of how far you've come. Remember when you called me crying after you left the Hendersons? You were so afraid you'd made a mistake." Maya did remember. She remembered the fear, the uncertainty, the financial stress of those first few months. But she also remembered the moment when she decided to bet on herself, to believe that she was worth more than the dismissive treatment she had endured. "I'm proud of myself too," Maya said, and she meant it. "Whatever happens with this job, I know I've proven something important to myself and to anyone who thought I should know my place. That evening, Maya sat in her small apartment, grading papers from her current substitute assignment and working on a presentation for her graduate seminar. The space was modest, but entirely hers, filled with education journals, student work that she was particularly proud of, photographs from classroom celebrations and academic conferences. On her desk sat a framed copy of her master's degree, soon to be joined by a second frame containing her thesis advisor's recommendation letter. Dr. Williams had written, "Maya Rodriguez represents the future of educania, a scholar practitioner who combines rigorous academic preparation with genuine understanding of children's needs. Any institution would be fortunate to have her on their faculty." Maya's laptop chimed with an email notification. Her heart stopped when she saw the sender, Dr. Sarah Mitchell, Riverside Academy. "Dear Ms. Rodriguez," the email began, "after careful consideration of all candidates, I am delighted to offer you the position of 4th grade teacher at Riverside Academy. Your passion for educational equity, combined with your innovative teaching strategies and genuine care for students, make you an ideal fit for our school community." Maya read the email 3 times before the reality sank in. She had done it. She had not only rebuilt her life and career after leaving the Hendersons, but she had earned a position at one of the most prestigious private schools in Connecticut. She would be working alongside respected educators, implementing innovative curricula, and making a real difference in children's lives. As she picked up her phone to call Jessica with the good news, Maya reflected on the journey that had brought her to this moment. 2 years ago, she had been dismissed as hired help with unrealistic dreams. Tonight, she was a master's educated professional educator with a position at an elite academy. The transformation hadn't happened overnight, and it hadn't been easy. But Maya had learned something powerful about resilience, about the importance of betting on yourself when no one else will, and about the difference between being valued and being tolerated. Tomorrow, she would begin preparing for her new role, ready to bring her passion, expertise, and hard-won wisdom to a new generation of students. She had built herself up from the ground. Now, she was ready to help others reach their potential too. The young woman who had once been invisible was now impossible to ignore. Maya's first day at Riverside Academy dawned crisp and clear, with September sunlight filtering through the oak trees that lined the campus pathways. She arrived an hour early, wanting to ensure everything was perfect for her students' arrival. As she arranged her classroom, 24 desks positioned in collaborative pods, inspirational quotes about learning adorning the walls, and interactive learning stations prepared throughout the room. Maya felt a profound sense of belonging that had eluded her for years. Her classroom was a testament to her educational philosophy, bright, welcoming, and designed to inspire curiosity. Student workspaces were differentiated to accommodate various learning styles, from quiet reading nooks to collaborative project areas. A science discovery center occupied one corner, while a classroom library filled with diverse books beckoned from another. Everything reflected her belief that learning should be engaging, inclusive, and joyful. "Good morning, Ms. Rodriguez." Dr. Mitchell appeared in the doorway, her warm smile immediately putting Maya at ease. "How are you feeling about your first day?" "Excited and ready," Maya replied, smoothing down her carefully chosen outfit, a professional but approachable ensemble that struck the perfect balance for her new role. "I've been looking forward to meeting my students. They're lucky to have you. I've reviewed your class roster, and I think you'll find this group particularly engaging. Some real academic stars, and a few who will benefit tremendously from your innovative approaches." Dr. Mitchell handed Maya a folder containing student information cards. "Take a few minutes to familiarize yourself with their backgrounds. Parent-teacher conferences are scheduled for next month, so you'll have opportunities to connect with families early in the year." As Dr. Mitchell left, Maya opened the folder and began reading through the student profiles. Each card contained basic academic information, learning preferences, and family background details. She was absorbed in studying her new students' needs when she reached the 7th card in the stack. Henderson, Emma, age 9. Parents, Caroline and Richard. Henderson. Maya's hands began to tremble as she stared at the familiar name. Her heart pounded as she flipped to the next card. Henderson, Tyler, age 11. Parents, Caroline and Richard Henderson. The folder slipped from Maya's fingers, cards scattering across her carefully organized desk. After 3 years, after everything she had endured and overcome, the Henderson children were here in her classroom, under her care once again. But this time, the dynamic had shifted completely. Maya sank into her desk chair, her mind racing. Emma would be 9 now, no longer the gap-toothed 7-year-old who had struggled with shoelaces. Tyler would be 11, probably several inches taller, and developing the independence that came with approaching adolescence. What kind of students had they become? How much did they remember about their former nanny? More importantly, how would the Hendersons react when they discovered that their children's new teacher was the woman they had dismissed as inadequate and presumptuous? Maya took several deep breaths, drawing on the confidence and professional expertise she had spent 2 years building. Whatever challenges this reunion might bring, she was no longer the uncertain young woman who had left their employment. She was a qualified educator with a master's degree, glowing recommendations, and a position at one of the most respected schools in Connecticut. The sound of excited chatter in the hallway signaled the arrival of students. Maya quickly gathered the scattered cards, composed herself, and moved to the door to greet her new class. Whatever personal history existed between her and the Henderson family, her primary responsibility was to these children and their education. "Good morning. Welcome to 4th grade," Maya called out as students began filing into the classroom. She watched each face carefully, recognizing some from the school's orientation materials and greeting each child with genuine warmth. Then she saw them. Emma appeared in the doorway. Now, tall for her age, with long brown hair pulled back in a neat ponytail. She had grown into her features beautifully, but Maya would have recognized those bright, curious eyes anywhere. The little girl scanned the classroom with interest before her gaze fell on Maya. For a moment, Emma's expression showed confusion, as if she were trying to place a familiar face in an unexpected context. Then recognition dawned, and her face lit up with pure joy. "Maya." Emma's voice carried across the classroom, causing several other students to turn and look. "Maya, is that really you?" Before Maya could respond, Tyler appeared behind his sister. Now 11 and noticeably taller, he had developed the slightly awkward proportions of a boy approaching adolescence. But his smile was the same sweet and genuine end when he saw Maya. His face broke into a grin that made her heart ache with fondness. "No way," Tyler exclaimed. "Maya, what are you doing here?" The pure delight in their voices drew the attention of the entire class. Maya felt every pair of eyes in the room focused on this unexpected reunion, and she knew she needed to handle the situation with professional grace while acknowledging the genuine connection she shared with these children. "Emma, Tyler, Maya," said warmly, moving forward to greet them properly. "How wonderful to see you both. I'm Ms. Rodriguez, now your 4th grade teacher. Please find your seats, and we'll have time to catch up properly later." Emma practically bounced to her assigned desk, which Maya now realized was positioned in the collaborative pod closest to the teacher's desk. Tyler found his seat nearby, and both children continued to beam at their teacher with undisguised excitement. "Class," Maya announced, addressing the full room of 24 students. "I'm Ms. Rodriguez, and I'm thrilled to be your teacher this year. We're going to have an amazing year of learning together." As Maya launched into her carefully planned first day activities, she couldn't help but notice how much Emma and Tyler had grown, not just physically, but academically and socially. Emma participated enthusiastically in every discussion, her hands shooting up to answer questions and contribute ideas. Tyler, who had always been more reserved, showed confidence in his responses and demonstrated strong analytical thinking skills. During the morning break, while other students explored the classroom's learning centers, Emma and Tyler approached Maya's desk together. "Okay, Ms. Rodriguez," Emma said, her voice filled with wonder. "I can't believe you're our teacher. This is like a dream come true." Tyler nodded eagerly. "Remember how you used to help us with our homework? Okay, and you always made learning so much fun. Okay. I told my friends at my old school that you were the best teacher I ever had, even though you weren't officially our teacher then." Maya felt her throat tighten with emotion. These children remembered her, not as the help, but as someone who had genuinely impacted their education and development. "I'm so happy to see both of you," Maya said sincerely. "I want you to know that you'll be treated exactly the same as every other student in this class. No special treatment, because we know each other." "Fair enough, of course," Emma said. "We want to be good students for you." "You already are good students," Maya replied. "I can see how much you've both grown and learned as the day progressed." Maya observed her former charges with professional interest. Emma had developed into a confident, articulate student with a particular talent for creative writing. When Maya assigned a Getting to Know You essay, Emma crafted a piece about wanting to become a teacher, because the best teachers help you discover things about yourself you didn't know were there. Tyler had grown into his intelligence, showing particular strength in mathematics and scientific reasoning during a problem-solving activity. He demonstrated the kind of analytical thinking that suggested he would excel in advanced coursework. Both children had clearly been well educated in the intervening years, but Maya also noticed some concerning patterns. Emma seemed almost desperate to please, raising her hand for every question and watching Maya's face anxiously for approval. Tyler, while academically capable, appeared to lack confidence in his own abilities, constantly second-guessing his responses. These were the behavioral patterns Maya had learned to recognize as indicators of children didn't receive consistent emotional support at home. Students who excelled academically but struggled with self-worth and internal motivation. The school day ended without any contact from the Henderson parents, but Maya knew it was only a matter of time. The next morning brought clarity about how that contact would unfold. "Ms. Rodriguez," the school secretary's voice came through the classroom intercom. "You have a parent requesting an immediate conference. Mrs. Henderson is here to see you." Maya's stomach dropped, but she drew on her professional training. "Please tell Mrs. Henderson I can meet with her during my planning period at 2:30. I'm currently teaching. She says it's urgent and can't wait." Maya took a deep breath. Even now, Caroline Henderson expected the world to rearrange itself around her schedule, but Maya was no longer someone who could be summoned at will. "Please explain that I'm committed to my students' instruction time. I'll be happy to meet at 2:30, or we can schedule something for later this week." 20 minutes later, during the students' lunch period, Maya made her way to the main office. Caroline Henderson sat in the waiting area, her posture rigid with barely contained fury. She looked exactly as Maya remembered, impeccably dressed, perfectly coiffed, and radiating the kind of entitlement that came from never being told no. When Caroline saw Maya approaching, she stood abruptly, her designer heels clicking sharply against the marble floor. "We need to talk. Now, of course. Mrs. Henderson, Dr. Mitchell has kindly offered us her office for privacy." They settled into Dr. Mitchell's office, the head of school diplomatically excusing herself to give them space. Caroline Henderson wasted no time getting to the point. "I want to know how this happened," she began, her voice tight with controlled anger. "How did you manage to manipulate your way into a teaching position at my children's school?" I felt the familiar sting of Caroline's condescension. But this time, she was armed with confidence and professional authority. "I earned this position through my qualifications. Mrs. Henderson, I have a master's degree in elementary education from Central Connecticut State University. 2 years of substitute teaching experience, and excellent recommendations from supervisors and colleagues. This is unacceptable, Caroline snapped. There has to be some kind of conflict of interest here. You were our employee. You have no business being in a position of authority over my children. I understand this situation is unexpected, Maya replied calmly. But I want to assure you that my only concern is providing Emma and Tyler with the best possible education. They're wonderful students, and I'm committed to helping them reach their full potential. Caroline's eyes narrowed. Don't think I don't know what this is about. You're trying to get back at us for something, some perceived slight from years ago. Maya felt a flash of anger, but kept her voice steady. Mrs. Henderson, I'm not sure what you're implying, but my presence here has nothing to do with you or your family. I applied for this position because Riverside Academy has an excellent reputation for educational innovation and student support. The fact that Emma and Tyler happen to be enrolled here is purely coincidental. I find that very hard to believe. Les, it's the truth. Maya leaned forward slightly, her professional demeanor unshakable. What I'd like to discuss is how we can work together to support your children's academic growth this year. Both Emma and Tyler are bright, capable students, and I'm excited about the progress they can make. Caroline Henderson stared at Maya for a long moment, clearly struggling with the shifted power dynamic. 3 years ago, she could dismiss Maya with a wave of her hand. Now, Maya held a position of authority and expertise that Caroline couldn't simply brush aside. I want them transferred to another class, Caroline said, finally. That's certainly your right to request, Maya replied. You'll need to discuss that with Dr. Mitchell. However, I should mention that class sizes are carefully balanced. Mid-semester transfers can be academically disruptive for students. I don't care about academic disruption. I care about appropriate boundaries. Maya stood, signaling that the meeting was over. I understand your concerns, Mrs. Henderson. Whatever you decide, please know that Emma and Tyler's education and well-being will always be my priority. They are remarkable children, and they deserve teachers who recognize and nurture their potential. As Caroline Henderson left the office, her heels clicking angrily down the hallway, Maya realized something profound had just occurred. For the first time in their relationship, she had stood her ground without apology or deference. She had spoken as an equal, defending her qualifications and maintaining her professional dignity. More importantly, she had done so while keeping the children's best interests at the center of the conversation. Later that afternoon, Dr. Mitchell stopped by Maya's classroom as she was preparing materials for the next day's lessons. I heard about your meeting with Mrs. Henderson, Dr. Mitchell said, settling into one of the student chairs. She requested that her children be transferred to another class. Maya's heart sank slightly. Despite the complicated history, she had been looking forward to working with Emma and Tyler, to being part of their continued growth and development. I told her that wouldn't be possible, Dr. Mitchell continued. Class sizes are set, and frankly, after observing Emma and Tyler in your classroom today, it's clear they're exactly where they need to be. You observe them and make it a point to visit every classroom during the first week. Those children were more engaged and enthusiastic than I've ever seen them. So whatever history you share, it's clearly beneficial to their academic experience. Maya felt a wave of relief and vindication. They're wonderful students, bright, curious, and eager to learn. Mrs. Henderson also questioned your qualifications and suggested there might be some impropriety in your hiring. Maya's cheeks flushed with anger, but Dr. Mitchell held up a hand. I informed her that you were hired based solely on your exceptional credentials and interview performance. I also mentioned that any parent questioning a faculty member's qualifications without cause was engaging in inappropriate behavior. Thank you for supporting me. Maya, you were hired because you're an outstanding educator. Don't let anyone make you question that. Now, I'm curious, what's your assessment of Emma and Tyler's academic needs? For the next 30 minutes, Maya and Dr. Mitchell engaged in exactly the kind of professional conversation Maya had always craved. They discussed learning objectives, differentiated instruction strategies, and specific interventions that might benefit both children. Emma shows signs of being a gifted learner who needs more challenge, Maya explained. Tyler has excellent analytical abilities, but seems to lack confidence in his own intelligence. I'd like to implement some collaborative projects that will help Emma extend her learning while giving Tyler opportunities to recognize his own capabilities. Perfect. It's exactly the kind of individualized attention our families pay for. As Dr. Mitchell left, Maya reflected on the day's events. The reunion with Emma and Tyler had been both challenging and affirming. Seeing their genuine excitement and continued affection had reminded her why she had entered education in the first place to make a meaningful difference in children's lives. Caroline's and Nenta's reaction had been predictable, but ultimately powerless. Maya was no longer someone who could be dismissed or intimidated. She had earned her place in this classroom through hard work, dedication, and proven expertise. Most importantly, she was finally in a position where she could be the teacher Emma and Tyler deserved someone who saw their potential, challenged their thinking, and supported their growth without the limitations imposed by her previous role as the help. The dynamic had indeed shifted completely. Maya Rodriguez was no longer invisible, and she was just getting started. 6 months had passed since Maya's unexpected reunion with the Henderson children, and the transformation in both Emma and Tyler was nothing short of remarkable. Maya stood before the packed auditorium of Riverside Academy, holding the Connecticut Association of Independent Schools Excellence in Teaching Award. It's reflected on the journey that had brought her to this moment of recognition and triumph. The auditorium buzzed with excitement as parents, students, faculty, and community members gathered for the annual academic awards ceremony. Maya's navy dress, purchased specifically for this occasion, felt like armor, a symbol of the confidence and professional success she had fought so hard to achieve. Her mother sat in the third row, tears of pride streaming down her face, finally able to witness her daughter receive the recognition she had always deserved. This year's recipient of the Excellence in Teaching Award, Dr. Mitchell announced from the podium, it's demonstrated extraordinary innovation in educational practices, its remarkable dedication to student success, and a transformative impact on our school community. Ms. Maya Rodriguez has redefined what it means to be an educator in the 21st century. The applause was thunderous, but Maya's eyes were drawn to a specific section of the auditorium where her 4th grade students sat with their families. Kina Henderson's face was radiant with pride, her hands clapping enthusiastically above her head. Tyler sat beside her, grinning widely and nudging his parents to join the standing ovation that had erupted throughout the venue. Caroline and Richard Henderson remained conspicuously seated, their applause polite but restrained. Even now, faced with undeniable evidence of Maya's professional excellence, they struggled to fully acknowledge her achievements. But Maya no longer needed their validation. She had something far more valuable: the respect of her colleagues, the recognition of educational leaders, and most importantly, the measurable success of her students. As Maya approached the podium to accept her award, she thought about the specific innovations that had earned her this recognition. Her implementation of stories of self-curriculum had gained national attention, helping students connect their personal experiences to academic learning in profound ways. Her research on culturally responsive teaching had been published in 3 educational journals, and she had been invited to present at conferences across New England. But perhaps most significantly, her classroom had become a model for the kind of inclusive, engaging education that prepared students, not just academically, but emotionally and socially, for the challenges of an interconnected world. Thank you, Maya began, her voice steady and clear as it carried across the auditorium. This award belongs not just to me, but to every student who has taught me something new. Every parent who has trusted me with their child's education, and every colleague who has challenged me to grow as an educator. She paused, looking out at the sea of faces before her. Education is not about filling empty vessels with knowledge. It's about recognizing the unique brilliance that already exists within every child and creating conditions for that brilliance to flourish. When we see our students as complete human beings with their own stories, dreams, and potential, magic happens in the classroom. The audience was completely silent, hanging on every word. Maya had become a masterful public speaker, her message resonating with the authenticity that came from lived experience and genuine passion. This year, I've had the privilege of working with an exceptional group of fourth graders, Maya continued, gesturing toward her students. They've taught me that resilience is learned, confidence can be built, and every child deserves a teacher who believes in their capacity for greatness. Emma Henderson, would you please stand? Emma rose from her seat, her face flushed with surprise and delight. The spotlight found her in the audience, and she waved shyly at the crowd. Emma began this year as a student who was academically capable but afraid to take intellectual risks. Through our classrooms, emphasis on growth mindset and collaborative learning, she has become a confident leader who helps other students find their voices. Her essay on social justice and children's literature was selected for publication in the New England Young Writers Anthology. The applause for Emma was warm and sustained. Maya could see Carolyn Henderson's face, a mixture of pride and confusion, as she processed the public recognition of her daughter's growth under Maya's guidance. Tyler Henderson, please stand. Tyler rose, somewhat reluctantly, still uncomfortable with public attention, but clearly pleased by his teacher's recognition. Tyler taught me that sometimes our quietest students have the most profound insights. His mathematical thinking has advanced to grade levels this year, but more importantly, he's discovered confidence in his own intellectual abilities. His science fair project on renewable energy solutions earned first place at the regional competition and will advance to the state level. The applause for Tyler was equally enthusiastic. Maya watched as Richard Henderson finally stood, clapping with genuine enthusiasm for his son's achievements. Even Caroline managed to smile, though Maya could see the complexity of emotions playing across her face. These are just two examples of the 24 remarkable students who have made this year extraordinary, Maya concluded. Education is not about the teacher standing in front of the classroom. It's about creating a community where every voice matters, every perspective is valued, and every child knows they have something important to contribute to the world. As Maya left the podium, award in hand, she was immediately surrounded by colleagues, parents, and community members offering congratulations. Dr. Mitchell appeared at her side, beaming with pride. Maya, that was beautiful. You've put Riverside Academy on the map with your innovative work. I hope you know how grateful we are to have you on our faculty. Thank you, Dr. Mitchell. This school has given me the opportunity to do the work I've always dreamed of doing. Speaking of opportunities, Dr. Mitchell said, lowering her voice slightly, I have been approached by several universities about establishing a master teacher program. They're specifically interested in your curriculum development work. Would you be open to discussing some consulting opportunities? Maya felt her heart soar. Just 3 years ago, she had been dismissed as someone with unrealistic ambitions. Now, universities were seeking her expertise to train the next generation of educators. I'd be very interested, Maya replied. Education, research, and teacher development have always been passions of mine. As the formal ceremony concluded and people began moving toward the reception, Maya found herself approached by Emma and Tyler, their parents trailing behind somewhat uncertainly. Ms. Rodriguez. Emma threw her arms around Maya's waist in an enthusiastic hug. I can't believe you won. This is the best day ever. Tyler, now comfortable enough to show affection publicly, joined the embrace. Thank you for making me feel smart, he said quietly. I never thought I was good at math until your class. Maya knelt down to their level, her heart full of the pure joy that came from seeing students recognize their own growth and potential. You were always smart, she told Tyler firmly. I just helped you see what was already there. And Emma, your writing has always been special. I just gave you opportunities to share it with others. Caroline Henderson cleared her throat behind him, and Maya stood to face the woman who had once dismissed her so cruelly. Ms. Rodriguez, Caroline began, her voice carefully controlled. I owe you an apology. The words hung in the air between them. Maya could see the difficulty this admission represented for someone who had built her identity around being right, around maintaining social hierarchies that placed her above people like Maya. When you first appeared as the children's teacher, I reacted poorly, Caroline continued. I let my preconceptions and my prejudices cloud my judgment about your qualifications and your character. Maya remained silent, giving Caroline space to continue. These past 6 months, watching Emma and Tyler flourish under your guidance, seeing the confidence they've developed and the genuine love of learning you've instilled in them, I've been forced to confront some uncomfortable truths about myself. Richard Henderson stepped forward, placing a supportive hand on his wife's shoulder. What Caroline is trying to say is that we were wrong about you, about your abilities, about your place in our children's lives. You've given our children something we couldn't, Caroline added, her voice growing stronger. You've helped them believe in themselves. Tyler comes home excited about math problems. Emma writes stories in her free time and talks about becoming a teacher like you. They've never been happier or more confident in school. Maya felt a complex mixture of emotions, vindication, certainly, but also genuine appreciation for the courage it took to make such an admission. Thank you for saying that, Maya replied graciously. Emma and Tyler are remarkable children. They've always had this potential. Sometimes it just takes the right environment for it to emerge. Like to make amends, Richard continued. If you're open to it, we'd love to have you join us for dinner sometime. Not as an employee, but as a valued member of our children's educational team. Maya considered the offer carefully. 3 years ago, she would have been thrilled by such an invitation, seeing it as validation of her worth. Now, she understood that her value didn't depend on the Hendersons' approval or acceptance. I appreciate the invitation, Maya said, finally. Let me think about it. Right now, my focus is on maintaining appropriate professional boundaries while continuing to support Emma and Tyler's growth. Caroline nodded, seeming to understand the implicit message. Maya was no longer someone who needed their approval or acceptance. She was a professional who would engage with them on her own terms. Of course, Caroline said. We just want you to know that we recognize how wrong we were and how grateful we are for everything you've done for our children. As the Henderson family moved away to speak with other parents, Maya was approached by Dr. Patricia Williams, her former graduate advisor who had driven down from Central Connecticut State University for the ceremony. Maya, Dr. Williams embraced her former student warmly. I am so incredibly proud of you. When I nominated you for this award, I knew you deserved it, but seeing you accept it tonight, you've exceeded even my highest expectations. Thank you. Dr. Williams, you believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself. No, dear, simply saw what was already there, just like you do with your students. Dr. Williams smiled knowingly. I have some exciting news. The University of Connecticut has approached me about developing a new graduate program in educational leadership and social justice. They want someone to design the curriculum and serve as the founding director. Maya's eyes widened with interest. I immediately thought of you, Dr. Williams continued. Your research, your classroom innovations, your ability to translate theory into practice show exactly what this program needs. It would be a part-time position initially, allowing you to continue teaching while developing the program. Eventually, it could become a full-time faculty position if that's something you'd want to pursue. Maya felt the familiar flutter of excitement that came with new possibilities. A university position would allow her to impact education on an even broader scale, training the next generation of teachers to create inclusive, transformative learning experiences. I'm very interested, Maya said. Could we schedule a time to discuss the details? Absolutely. I'll send you the initial proposal next week. As the evening wound down, Maya found herself surrounded by colleagues, parents, community members who wanted to congratulate her and discuss her innovative teaching methods. She had become exactly what she had always wanted, to be a respected educational leader whose work made a meaningful difference. Jessica Chen appeared at her side, having traveled from her own teaching position in Boston to attend the ceremony. I'm so proud of you, Jessica said, squeezing Maya's hand. Do you? Remember that phone call 3 years ago when you were so scared about leaving the Hendersons? Maya laughed, thinking about how terrified she had been to step into the unknown. I remember thinking I was making the biggest mistake of my life. And look at you now, award-winning teacher, published researcher, university consulting opportunities. Maya, you've become exactly who you were meant to be. As Maya drove home that night, her award sitting on the passenger seat beside her, she reflected on the incredible journey that had brought her to this moment. The scared, undervalued young woman who had once sought validation from the Henderson family had been replaced by a confident professional who created her own validation through excellence and authentic connection with her students. Her phone buzzed with text messages throughout the drive, congratulations from former professors, colleagues from other schools, and parents expressing gratitude for her impact on their children. But the message that meant the most came from an unexpected source. Ms. Rodriguez, okay, this is Tyler. I wanted to tell you that watching you win that award tonight made me realize that I want to be a teacher to someday. You showed me that teachers are some of the most important people in the world. Thank you for believing in me. Tyler Henderson. Maya pulled over to wipe away the tears that blurred her vision. This was why she had become an educator, not for awards or recognition, but for moments like this when a student discovers their own potential and dreams of using it to make the world better. As she arrived at her apartment, Maya thought about how completely her life had transformed. She had gone from being invisible to being impossible to ignore, from being dismissed to being celebrated, from seeking validation to providing it for others. The young woman who had once been just a nanny was now Dr. Maya Rodriguez, in the making a master teacher whose influence would extend far beyond any single classroom or student. She had proven that with determination, education, and unwavering belief in one's own worth, it was possible to rewrite the story of your life completely. The circle was indeed complete. But Maya understood that this ending was really just the beginning of an even more extraordinary chapter. The girl who had once been ignored at graduation was now the mentor everyone wanted to learn from. And her story was far from over.